My investing journey actually began right before the pandemic. At that point in my life, I knew I had to do something with the money I had left over after paying my bills. I was doing the responsible thing and putting money into a savings account, but it really wasn't doing anything. The interest was barely noticeable, and it felt like time was passing while my money just sat there. I remember thinking that if I didn't take action, years could go by and nothing would change. That realization is what pushed me to start learning about investing. At first, everything felt pretty normal. The market looked steady, the news wasn't alarming yet, and I felt excited that I was finally taking control of my finances. I opened a Robinhood account because it felt simple and easy to understand. As someone who was completely new to investing, that mattered a lot. It didn't feel overwhelming or confusing, and it gave me confidence that I could actually learn this if I stuck with it. Then the world changed. The pandemic hit, the headlines became nonstop, and almost overnight the market started crashing. I remember opening the app and seeing red everywhere. Day after day, it was the same thing. Losses, uncertainty, and no clear answers about how long it would last. It honestly felt like I had started investing at the worst possible time. On top of that, I was working part-time, so I didn't have much money to put in. Every dollar I invested felt important. When the market dropped, it didn't just feel like numbers on a screen. It felt personal. Even with all that going on, I knew one thing for sure. I didn't want to gamble. I wasn't interested in penny stocks, hype plays, or anything that sounded too good to be true. I wanted to own real companies, businesses people actually used and trusted. I also wanted to own companies that people knew and had actually heard of. When I talked about investing, I didn't want to name some random penny stock and get a weird look like no one knew what I was talking about. I wanted to be able to say Apple or Microsoft and people instantly understand what I meant. That mindset made investing feel more real and gave me the confidence in the companies I was choosing. The first stock I ever bought was Apple. I remember how excited I was when I placed that trade. I use Apple products every day, and it felt different knowing I actually owned a small piece of the company. The second stock I bought was Microsoft, another company that felt solid, familiar, and reliable. After that, I bought VOO, which is an S&P 500 ETF, and that purchase completely changed how I looked at investing. Owning VOO made me realize that I didn't have to be perfect or predict which stock would do the best. I could own a piece of the entire market and let time do the heavy lifting. Looking back, I realized how lucky I was from the people I learned from early on. I could have easily gone down a different path and followed channels pushing quick money ideas or risky trends. Instead, I found creators who talk about patience, discipline, and long-term thinking. JJ Buckner was a huge influence for me back in those early days. One lesson he shared that really stuck with me was this. When the market falls, it's actually a great time to buy because everything's cheaper. And even when the market is higher, the prices today don't matter nearly as much if you're investing for the long term. That idea completely shifted my mindset. It helped me stop worrying about time in the market and start focusing on staying consistent. That doesn't mean it suddenly became easy. Starting right before the pandemic and watching the market crash tested my patience more than anything else. There were plenty of moments where I opened Robinhood, stared at the numbers, and I questioned myself. I wondered if I had terrible timing or if I should just pause until things felt safer. When you're investing small amounts, every drop feels massive, but I kept reminding myself why I started in the first place. As time went on, something else started to grow in my mind. I wanted a place where I could talk openly about investing. I wanted to show my portfolio honestly, talk about wins and losses, and share what I was learning in real time. That's what made me want to start this YouTube channel. I didn't want it to be about flexing numbers or pretending to have all the answers. I wanted it to be a platform to talk about investing in a realistic way and to build a community of people who were on the same path. People who were just trying to do better with their money and think long term. Over time, my mindset slowly changed. I began to understand that investing isn't meant to feel comfortable all the time. There will be long stretches where things don't look great. There will be moments where doing nothing feels harder than making a move. But those small, consistent investments I was making were building something bigger, even when it didn't feel like it. Apple, Microsoft, VOO, and everything else were slowly forming the foundation of my future. VOO especially helped me stay grounded. Knowing I owned exposure to hundreds of companies made everything feel steadier. I didn't need to react to every headline. I didn't need to guess what the market would do next. I just needed to stay consistent and give it time. If I could go back and talk to myself right before the pandemic, I would tell myself this. You're going to feel uncertain. You're going to question your timing. But don't quit. The habits you're building right now matter far more than anything happening in the short term. You may not have a lot to invest, but starting and sticking with it will change your future. Now when I look back, I'm grateful for how my journey started. It wasn't smooth and it definitely wasn't easy, but it taught me patience and perspective. It taught me that investing is less about being perfect and more about showing up consistently. And it showed me that even small amounts invested over time can really add up. If you're watching this and you feel like you started at the wrong time or you don't feel like you have much money to invest, I understand. I've been there. Starting isn't about having everything figured out. It's about learning, staying patient, and continuing to invest in your future one step at a time. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and let me know in the comments below. When did you start investing and what was your experience like? I'd really love to hear your story, and we'll see you next time.